Alright, so 12-1C, we want to start out with writing the equation for this tip versus time they spend at a buffet. So first off, we're going to start out with the equation, which we can actually figure out just by looking at the second table. 4.535 plus 0.03013 times minutes, because minutes is the x value and money is the y value, so maybe I should change this to be tips. B, S equals 1.77931, which means that is the standard deviation of the residuals, which is the vertical distance between the line and the data points. In letter C, it asks, what does R squared stand for? Well, it's been a while since we've done this, but it's 13.2%, which means 13.2% of the change in Y, so of the change in tip, has to do with the time spent at the buffet. Doesn't say that it causes it, just says 13.2%. The reason why someone tips this amount would be because of how much time they spent there. So then we get to the new stuff, which is, does the data show the evidence of a positive correlation between the time and the tip by the... So what we're doing here is, B is the B, capital B, is equal to the slope of the actual line for tip as y and time as x. And so we're going to do two hypotheses. Generally speaking, I've only seen one time where it wasn't, and that they actually gave it to you that B is equal to 0. The alternate hypothesis is B is greater than 0, because we believe that if you spend more time in the buffet, that you should tip more, not less. Alright, and so the conditions, generally speaking, in this problem we're always going to assume have been met unless they specifically tell us that they haven't. We could go through all 5 of them that we did in 12-1A, but for right now we're just going to say the conditions have been met, and you can check them out for yourself if you really want to. And then we come to the math. So in order to get T, I'm going to take the slope minus 0, because that's what I think the slope should be, divided by 0.02448, which is what they gave me as the standard deviation of the slope, and when I divide it, I get the exact t that they said, which is 1.23. So what is the probability that t is greater than 1.23? Well, how many degrees of freedom? We're going to have 10. And so when I do this, we get a value of 0.123. Now you notice that's not the same p-value that they gave you in the chart. The p-value in the chart is always going to be the two-sided version of the hypothesis test. So we are going to fail to reject HO. And what does this mean? Well, the test that we're trying to show is that whether there's a correlation between these two things or not. Since we fail to reject the null hypotheses, what that means is that we do not have enough evidence to show that time, or that there is a positive correlation between time spent at a buffet and the tip received. And so those are the conclusions that we have. Either there is going to be a correlation, or when we fail to reject, we don't have enough evidence to show that there's a correlation. So let's take a look at the next one, which has a different outcome. Before we go on, there's something that I should have done, which is put in here that this is a significant test of slope, and of course my good friend alpha that I always forget, of 0.05. So we're doing something that has to do with cry count versus IQ. So is there a correlation between them at all? So have cry count as the explanatory, and IQ score as the response. My null hypothesis is going to be B equals 0. My alternate hypothesis is B does not equal 0, because we just want to see if there's a correlation or not. And we are once again doing a significance test of slope. Alpha equals 0.05. This time, even in directions, it says conditions have been met. So t is equal to 1.4929 divided by 0.04870, which equals 3.07. How many degrees of freedom? We're not given. I don't want to take a guess, but they should have told us, but we don't have an n-2 would have been it. So what's the probability that t is bigger than 3.07 or t is less than negative 3.07? Well, based on the table, that gives us an answer of 0.004. So I'm just using the table and not using my calculator. So I, which is less than 0.05, I reject the null hypothesis. I have evidence to suggest that there is a correlation between cry count and IQ. So hopefully I'll be back tomorrow and answer all of your questions. So please keep that in mind, and you can email me, and that's it for this video.